Hey guys, we are going to do a geode coaster today. I've got this kit. I haven't opened it yet. I got off of Amazon from Let's Resin. They've got all kinds of stuff. This is actually the same company that I got my other coaster molds from that you've seen possibly in some other videos. That hexagon came from another kit that had a round, a square, a hexagon, and some little tools with it. So I know this is loud. I apologize. It has these four here. You can use it as this option here. I only know this without opening it because it's listed on the listing. You can also have a 6-piece mold in there. Ah! There you go. There's your visual. I like the size of all of that, but I am going to go with these guys. It's a good size. I still have plenty of room. Unless I had a giant cup, then it'd be a different story, but I'm going to go ahead and put these back in the package so they don't get glittery or anything. So, let's put that away for now. So the inspiration for these coasters tonight is this. This is actually a geode that we have on our mantle. So I picked pinks and purples to kind of duplicate this. It's something we've had for a long time. I just got a new glitter on Wednesday, right before leaving for Thanksgiving, that is going to be the absolute perfect glitter for the center. I've been wanting to do this tutorial for a bit. I've actually had these molds for a couple of weeks and just have not had time to do anything with them. Been catching up on Tumblr orders. But this is one of Fran's subscription box colors, or excuse me, glitters. It's called Shattered Glass, and that is a pretty accurate description. I was kind of contemplating, my jacket caught it. I was kind of contemplating going out and grabbing some of the shattered glass that came from a shower door that got busted right outside of our shop, because it's that safety glass and it's smooth. So I thought that'd be perfect, but now I don't have to. So we're gonna get started with this. I'm gonna mix up lots of epoxy because I'm gonna use 3 colors from this new kit. I got this box today. It's a whole bunch of epoxy dyes. These are translucent. There's every color in here that you can think of. Burgundy, red, orange, a couple of greens, a couple of blues, a couple of pinks, black and white. I'm going to use these 3 colors. White, fuchsia, and purple. Like I said, these are translucent, which is kind of what we want for the geode look. And then I'm going to put the chunky in the center one. I'm going to make it a pretty light pink, and then we'll go a little bit of dark pink around it, and then we'll go light purple, really dark purple. Like I said, I've never done this before, so bear with me. I hope it turns out. I watched a couple of videos this weekend. I didn't really see the style that I wanted. I felt like they were just a little different than what I have in my head. So I'm going to mix up my resin, and then I'll show you how I have it sorted out or parted out. All right, so here we go. I have 20 milliliters of this one, or in this cup, excuse me. I'm going to do 1 drop of the fuchsia. I haven't used these yet, so I'm not real sure how strong I need to go. Oh, looks like I need to pierce the end. So I'm just going to take a little sewing straight pin and puncture the tip. Oh my goodness. I was not prepared for the little bitty volcano that came out. So I'm going to put one drop and stir it just because I don't know what I'm working with just yet. This is translucent epoxy dye. So that's pretty translucent. I do want a little bit more color, but not a lot. I think I'm going to skip it. I think I'm going to leave just the one. Then I'm going to put a fair amount of the shattered glass glitter in here. Good chunk so that it is nice and chunky in there. So the way I'm going to do this is the center. I'm going to pour it around, and then I'm going to do the outer perimeter and then pour inwards from there. But I want to make sure that this is where the emphasis is. So that's really pretty. Some of the glitter just kind of disappeared, but that's okay. I think once it's in there, it'll look better. So I'm just going to pour a little bit here. I'm going to do a little bit now, and then I'm going to come back in a little while and add a little bit more after it's thickened up a bit. I really don't want this oozing out too far. I don't want to lose control of what I've got here. That is pretty. Okay, so on the next spot I'm going to do, I have just about 7.5 in this one for our outer, and I do want a darker purple ring because I'm trying to duplicate that. I'm not going to try and duplicate the outside stone part of it. I feel like that would be excessive. So I am going to poke the hole in it before I start squeezing it. I guess that's a good thing, because if you don't use it for a bit, there's no chance of it drying out. So I'm going to do 3 drops and see what it looks like. Let's wipe this off. Go a little darker. Just one more drop. If you do too much additive, alcohol ink, epoxy dye, acrylic paint, anything like that, it will make it affect the way your epoxy cures. So hopefully this is enough to go all the way around the edges here. I may have to mix more. I don't think I did enough. I might go nice and slow. All the tutorials I saw yesterday, they just threw it in there, and I just felt like it was much messier. I think I'm going to take my time and be a little bit more intentional with my edges than what I saw. Some of them were so like nonchalant, kind of flinging it around. It kind of made me nervous. I was like, no, what are you doing? I'm definitely going to have to mix more of this, which is fine because I know exactly how much I need to put in there. Doesn't have to be perfectly even all the way around. I know for sure that I don't have enough epoxy mixed up, but that's okay. I can make more and just pile it on top. But if I can control it just a little bit better, I'm okay with that. Okay, that's it for that cup. I had another cup on reserve here. I should have known that that wasn't going to be nearly enough. That was kind of dumb. So I have 15 here now, which is twice what I had there. So I'm going to do 6 drops. Mix that up good. that looks a little darker than I had before. That's okay. Once I go back over it, it won't be that big of a deal. The next color I'm going to mix will be that same purple. I'm going to throw white in there to give it that milkier effect. Okay, so there's that. It actually does match. It's pretty close. This one doesn't look like it has much color. I don't know what I did there. Okay, so that's that for this color on that go around. So the next one, I'm going to have a bigger area. So I have 20, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to need to mix more. I'm going to go ahead and puncture this. Before I do the purple, I'm going to see how milky this makes it. Just going to do 2 for now. Yep, that's a good color. I'll do 1 more drop and then I'll add some purple in there. Okay, so I'm going to do 3 or I'm going to do 4 drops. See what that looks like. I need it a little lighter than my border there. Let's do 1 more drop of white and see what happens. It's not quite the color I was picturing, but it's really good. Gives me a pretty good, we don't want them to completely contrast because we're going to go with a light pink right after this. And these will kind of push up against each other. I think it's so weird how it sometimes will swirl when you're pouring. So I'm actually going to pour a teensy bit of this first color because this is going so far down. I want these to kind of line up whenever you put them together. So that'll give it a little bit closer. Doesn't have to be perfectly the same because people aren't typically, I wouldn't think, aren't going to leave them side by side when they're not in use. I would imagine most people would stack them. Okay, so that's pretty good. I am going to add just a teensy bit more here. And a teensy bit more here. I just want these edges to be slightly more uniform together. All right, so that's that color. We're going to go back over all of this in a minute and add some more in just a minute. So next color, I need kind of a milky white. I mean, hello, milky pink. White is milky. So I've got another one here that has almost 20. I didn't quite divide them up as evenly as I should have. So we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here. 1, 2, 3, there. That's kind of cool looking, watching them mix like that. Kind of cool. Anyways, I'm easily entertained. So we're gonna mix this together here. I think I want more of this than anything. Okay, before we do this one, I've kind of had a change of course here. I'm gonna do my thin layer of the dark pink right here. I say dark pink, darkish pink. Just kind of tapping that out to make it sit a little bit more even. So let's do, I did 4 drops there. Let's see what it looks like when we mix it here. Yeah, that's pretty good. I don't want it so bright that it contrasts, but I definitely don't want it so pale that it mixes in with the color we just mixed that we're going to be doing after this. My epoxy is starting to thicken up. That's one thing about this, is you gotta work decently fast. Can't work too fast or else it'll all run together and it won't be very pretty. But luckily, since I'm paying attention to how much I'm putting in each layer or in each cup, I can duplicate it and make more for the next layer to go on top of it. So I'm not super worried about it. A little swirling action is getting on my nerves. It's so weird. Okay, that's our dark ring there. So now we're going to just pretty much fill this in right here. I'm definitely going to have to pour more of this, but that's okay. I will most likely just go ahead and let this pretty much sit overnight and then do it all this again over it tomorrow, since I didn't do enough. I'm almost certain that that's what I'm going to do. Oh, I was going to add a little fine glitter in one of these layers, and I just forgot. Just now remembered it. Saw a tutorial yesterday where she used a barbecue lighter to pop her bubbles. I thought that was kind of cool. All right, so I'm gonna have to mix some more of that pink right there. No big deal. I'm gonna go ahead and mix up and knock out these other 2 right here. Since I've got a little bit of a border and it's thickening up now, I don't want to waste too much if I can avoid it. Okay, so that is this. I meant to go buy a barbecue lighter because I thought that was the coolest thing I've seen in a long time, and I just completely spaced out. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop for a second. I was gonna go ahead and knock those out, but I really want to go ahead and do the rest of this really quickly. And don't judge how I'm mixing this, because this is not really the right way to measure. Most manufacturer packaging will say to mix it in 2 different cups and then pour one into the other and then mix it up, but I don't like doing that. If you get 15 cc's or 15 milliliters and then you add something on top of it and now you have 30, I feel like that is just as accurate. Maybe I'm wrong, but so far it works for me, and I very rarely get it off on my measurement. We're just going to stir this up. Sorry about that. You can fast forward for about 60 seconds if you want to. Like I said, I haven't done a geode coaster, and I should have mixed up more, but that's all right. I've got everything handy and warm. Can't wait to see how that turns out. I am going to hit it with the heat gun in a little bit after it is all completely poured. So I said I was paying attention, but clearly I was not, because now I'm not confident. I think I did a little bit of, I did like 3 drops of white. Now I have 30 milliliters, so I'm gonna go a little stronger. I do 1 drop stronger than, or more than what I was thinking I did. Nope, too much pink. See if we can dial it back a little bit. Actually, I think that's pretty close. I think once we get it poured in, it should be pretty close. It's not exact, but that's okay. I think I'm going to invest in some bigger. Actually, no, that actually is pretty close. It's so deceiving whenever you're looking at it in the cup versus in the mold. I just poured some over and you can barely see the difference there. I'm just filling in the spaces here. This is so much reminding me of decorating with royal icing when you're doing the sugar cookies. Kind of fun. Where you draw the border and then you fill it in with the runnier stuff. So let's do our outer color again. This is getting really thick. We're about out of time to play with this. So we're going to do just kind of a thinnish round around here. I don't want to go super heavy duty because I've got to make it go all the way around. It does all kind of start blending together. Since I'm in a hurry, I'm not being real careful at those seams. I'll just peel it off of my table later. And it gets in between there. Okay, that does it for the dark purple. I can't believe I just did that with my left hand. Kind of impressed with myself. I am not a lefty. I'm incredibly gimpy when it comes to doing most things with my left hand rather than typing. Just going right up against that darker purple now with this lighter purple. The next one I do, I'm definitely going to do more glitters in between layers. I just completely forgot. No big deal. I'm just dragging this. It's got a little bit of a tail still coming out. I'm almost out, so I'm just kind of dragging it back around, seeing how much more I can get out of it. Just covering up that spot the darker purple oozed through. Man, that just doesn't want to break off. Okay, you're done. You're done. Okay. All right, so that was that. I'll go ahead and do a little bit more of this dark. Well, maybe not. This pink may be completely solidified now. Not quite, but very, very close to it. This isn't going to be as easy because it's starting to cure. Oh my gosh, it's like waiting for the ketchup to come out of one of those old bottles. My kids don't understand the patience testing of waiting for that ketchup to come out. I don't know what the heck's going on with my center epoxy, but it is definitely escaping its borders. But that's okay because we don't need a defined line. It's still coming out, so I'm still pouring. Okay, I think I'm going to cut it off. Have you ever seen candy be made? That's exactly what this feels like with the sugar, the sponge sugar and all of that. So I still have a little bit of the lighter pink left from that second batch that we mixed. I'm actually going to get this giant stray piece. Kind of get that at least somewhat rained back. I don't know why some of these kind of came out. Easy peasy. That'll lay down flat in just a little bit, especially after I hit it with the little bit of heat. I try not to use too much heat on my silicone molds because it will shorten the life of them. So if you want to make your molds last as long as possible, try not to use, definitely a torch can shorten it. I've never used a torch, but I've definitely seen people talk about having them and using them. But I've never done one. I've only ever used my embossing gun, which some people will preach against, but it works for me. And I didn't have to invest a whole lot in it. that is it. Done. So make sure you have plenty of medicine cups handy when you're doing that. So that is that. I'm gonna let that sit for just a second while I grab my mask and put it on so that I can blast it with the embossing gun. This mold is about half full. I'll probably do all this over it again tomorrow. I'll see what it looks like in the morning though. I know that if you fill it up pretty full, you end up having less rough edges, so that's probably what I'll do. I'm just going to blast some of these bigger bubbles just so it's not a problem tomorrow. I'd hate to have big, huge bubbles in there that I can't do anything about and be mad about it before I start the next layer tomorrow. The advantage to doing the next layer tomorrow is I can go back and rewatch it and see exactly what I said I would use for however many drops. Alright, that's pretty good. I may actually pick up a barbecue lighter tomorrow. I mean, I was literally watching her pop, 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 pop non-stop. It was great. It's kind of satisfying. So that's where we're going to stop for the moment, and then I'll do all this again in the morning since I didn't do enough, but I kind of wanted it to be thicker anyways. So that's it. That's what we're going to work on in the morning. It's really pretty. Camera's not really picking up the color in here like it is in person. It's much prettier in person. I'll show a picture of it in the light. It's dark outside, so I'm not getting much natural light. I'm working on LEDs and halogens around me. So tomorrow I'll do all that again. I probably won't record it since it's kind of redundant, but I will show a clip of that at the end of what it looks like in the daylight. Okay, so I have another probably 60 milliliters in here. What I did this time, since I needed to really control where everything was going, is I let my glittered epoxy thicken so that I could control where it was going to go. So I mixed that and let it sit for a really long time until it was almost a paste, so I could control where it went and make it line up with the bottom layer. I did the same thing with the dark and the light purple. And then the light pink and the dark pink and then most of the light pink I also had sitting aside. That way I could put that border around it. But I did have to make even more, another 30 milliliters here. So I feel like these probably take, I'm gonna have to measure it with water after I demold these. They probably take at least 100 milliliters of epoxy per chunk. We'll find out after I unmold it. I'll measure it with water just to see what the actual answer is to that. So once this is cured, I'm actually going to just top it off with clear. That way everything is nice and level, it's smooth, it's full. Because if I don't have this all the way full, I'll end up with these jagged edges because of like the normal thing that you learn in science class, the meniscus effect, where it just kind of catches up against that edge and then drops down. So that's where we are right now. I'll just add clear in the morning, maybe later tonight, depending on what time I get back out here. But then I will unmold it and I'll record the actual unmolding part, but I will not record the pouring of the clear. All right, so these have been curing. They're nice and hard. I'm gonna go ahead and leave my gloves on just because they're not really cured. They're just hard enough to handle and to remove from the molds. So I'm just gonna gently peel this away. There will be some spots that I probably need to touch up with my X-Acto knife, but it shouldn't be too terrible since it's pretty smooth around there. So just gently Just a little bit, kind of like that little nubbin right there. So it's pretty good. I like how this side looks better than that side for sure. So hopefully they all look like that. This one I actually tried taking out this morning and it wasn't quite ready, so I had to put it back in. Once again, that side looks great. I like how that shimmery right there goes over the shattered glass glitter here. What I'll probably end up doing is going and getting some of those little felt pad things to stick on the bottoms, just kind of as an added touch. I'll keep it from clanging up against a coffee table really badly. There's that one. And since these aren't completely cured yet, I will just go and set them aside so they can completely harden up the rest of the way. So it's pretty nice. I like it. It's way prettier outside of the mold. There's a spot that I'll have to trim. No big deal. I like it a little bit better outside of the mold just because you can really see the translucence of it so much better. You know, it's not perfect as far as the way everything is lined up, but overall, I'm happy with it. It's not exactly like what I was going for, but you can still tell what it's supposed to be. So that was my very first coaster attempt. So hopefully that gives you an idea of what to do. One idea, I really should have done this from the get-go. You can fill this full of water and then dump it into a measuring cup to see exactly how much it takes. Every mold is going to be a little bit different. Some might be beefier than others. So don't go by my numbers, even though I really didn't give an exact total there. But this is really thick. I mean, that's easily ½ inch. Let me grab a ruler and I'll see. ½ inch is probably an exaggeration. It's not far from ½ inch, but are you gonna focus? What's that, 3/8? I'm always in trouble. If it's not quarter or half, I'm always in trouble. So right there between the quarter and the half. Give me millimeters and I could tell you all day long what that is. I work with millimeters all day long at work. So that's that. Got the clear coat. You can kind of see it right here in the layering where the clear coat is. Can't really see it here or here, only from the sandwich side view. So yeah, that's it. If you have any questions, drop me a line. If you want to get notification when I do a new tutorial, hit subscribe and you'll get notification there. If you have any suggestions or ideas or questions or anything like that, be sure and drop a line in the comments. I do my best to keep up with that. I think I've done pretty good at keeping up with everything so far. So that's it. I didn't really need to touch up very many places. That's actually it right there. And this one. It's that simple. Just peel it like you're peeling a potato. Yep, that one's good. That one's good. Yeah. Oh, no. One tiny little spot. All right. Y'all have a good one.